Chapter 1. Once upon a time there was a boy called Jonathan Coyle, and he was a gypsy fighting champion, and he wore his sister's pants because they were the best. His favorite game was Age of Empires because it was a good game, and he played them all the time when he wasn't in his wanking chariot. One day, however, Johnny was sitting in his chariot when his da Tommy the Great Banter King charged into his room, and Johnny sat up in fright. "Oh no, da, what ye doing in my room? Get out my room, vroom vroom." Johnny's da let out a great breath because he'd just finished a huge joint, 420, and turned to Johnny. "Cheeky breeky, Johnny," he bellowed in a terrible Russian accent. "Da wit you on?" "Weed," exclaimed Tommy. "I smoke it every day." "No, da wit you actually here for?" Tommy was trembling but no from withdrawal. He took a step closer to his son, turning him on slightly. "Caitlin has a copy of Modern Warfare 3. Modern Warfare 3 is pish da. You can't even quick-scope in it. Take it fame am in XXX toxic XXX should know." "Fuck up, son, this is serious business." "Okay, but what do you want me to do about it?" "I need you to get MW3 AFF Caitlin. She's ran AFF to the catty." Johnny slides back beneath his covers under the baked gaze of his beloved father. What was he to do? He couldn't leave now. He was at level 42 of zombies with XXX toxic pecker XXX, and Caitlin was a boot anyway. He couldn't be asked WA her shite. "Nor damn no dane it," said Johnny. Tommy stared out Johnny's fogged-up wind eye and took a long draw of his joint before turning back to his son. "I'll buy you jasmines." Chapter 2. Johnny sat on the 60 bus heading into town. His ass was numb as the shorts he wore beneath his jeans instead of boxes were providing little protection against the harsh plastic seat he'd had to take next to a sweaty junkie. He'd rather have got the train, but when he got to the station they were AFF, but Johnny couldn't care less because he was craving his jasmines. The thought of being able to scoop his rice and curry sauce into those crunchy bowl-shaped prawn crackers was overwhelming. He tensed his fingers and drooled a little down his chin so much that he caught the junkie's attention. "You are right, pal?" he asked. Johnny didn't answer. He just began to shake uncontrollably, and a noticeable bulge suddenly appeared in his tight light blue jeans. "Fuck's okay," the junkie exclaimed, and nobody in particular, as he jumped up. "That cunt's no right." The other passengers agreed as they all hastily followed the junkie down to the bottom floor. A short time later Johnny snapped out of his jasmine-induced euphoria and wondered where the other passengers had disappeared to. He sat for a moment in his sweat-soaked seat, basking in his solitude. There was a pang of loneliness in his heart. This is the bit that Stephen wrote, so ignore all the gay symbolisms, and Johnny couldn't help but consider his place in the universe and the distance he felt from his fellow man, because he'd like to get closer to other men. Johnny's heart suddenly leapt, and so did he. He had to do this. He had to do it for the jasmines. Chapter 3. The bus trundled away behind Johnny. He stood at George Square wondering how the fuck it got here when it's meant to stop at the Tron gate. The driver must have been as high as that junkie, Johnny said, chuckling to himself. Not that it mattered. He was still where he wanted to be. The Ark was just around the corner, and they did free passes, which would save him money. Money that he'd usually spend on a KFC straight after catty, but no, the day as he was getting a jasmines later. Oh yes. But the Ark still provided pitchers of absolute shite drink, and that was more than enough to tempt Johnny inside. He sauntered up to the bouncer, a big baldy bastard who looked like an overgrown baby. "All right, mate, HAV, you got ID?" Johnny suddenly stopped and began to pat himself down furiously, his touch becoming frantic as he failed to find the bulge he was looking for. His passport was as missing as a Jew's foreskin. "Johnny, seriously, get a better form of ID." To save you the hassle, just read chapters 1 and 2 again, but add in a part where he actually picks up his passport to go through what we go through every fucking Friday and or Saturday night, sometimes Tuesdays. Chapter 4 Skin Lololol. Jonny pushed open the 2 heavy wooden doors into the ark with ease, like Aragorn did when he entered the throne room of Helm's Deep. It was heaving as it always was on a Friday night, and Jonny had to wait his way through Dar Pussy. They were trying to hang off him, but he had no time for Dar bitches tonight. He was on a mission, but first he had to get a drink. Bar wench, a pitcher of Long Island iced tea. The fine piece of ass barmaid leapt into action. In a flash she turned around and grabbed all Dar ingredients and suddenly threw pitcher up. Jonny couldn't believe his eyes as she 360'd on the spot, and all the ingredients landed in the glass before she slammed it down in front of him and gave him a wink. Ooh. Jonny felt a warmth in his heart and in his pants. This girl was something else, but the only girl for him was a girl named Jasmine's. Cheers, Jonny said as he grabbed his drink. He took a sip from the wee straws of the sweet, or however the fuck it tastes, liquid rushing down his throat. Oh, that's the stuff, he said before turning around and plunging back into the crowd. He only got a few feet before he noticed some familiar faces. All right, ya Dick, said Adam as he sat flanked by his comrades, Stephen and Reese. Fuck no these bands. How can it no be Brian? He is the moon of my life, my sun and stars. Where do you stay here? Jonny asked with a sigh. Drinking, Stephen said, adopting a shit-eating grin before taking a drink of his beer. Fuck you guys, I'm going home, Jonny said. No man come join us, said Reese before chugging down a pitcher of puff juice. Jonny fucked himself down. He was already feeling the booze. So Jonny, are you ready for the munters tonight? Said Adam. Jonny slammed down his pitcher. Fuck up, that's no what I'm here for. Stephen raised an eyebrow. The fuck ye dane here then, ya big tit. HAVT find Caitlin, she's got my DAR's copy of MW3. Jonny looked around the group. They were all staring back at him as if he was an alien. What do you mean as if he was... Jonny, what do you own? Asked Adam. Other than 10th prestige. Nothing. But Adam didn't need to know that. He didn't need to know anything. He was only interested in pulling munters and being a cretin of the highest order. Fuck up, guys, let's just get going to Catty, Jonny said. He turned the rest of his pitcher and stormed out the door. Chapter 5. The gang just made it to the front door of the Catty. The sweat was dripping off down Jonny's neck and dribbling down his back. He'd had to run all the way here past a cunt singing Wonderwall, all because he'd forgot to ask for a pass. He'd heard all the others laughing at him, but that didn't matter because he was here now. His Catty band was going to get him in. Hey Jonny, a familiar English bastard voice said behind him. Jonny turned round, his heart thumping against his chest. He was ready to knock this cunt out, but stopped when he saw who it was. Kirsten, he said, I thought you were a bean. Kirsten's eyes shifted away from him, but her smile remained. It doesn't mean I can't come to the Catty, Jonny, she said with a chuckle. Oh yeah, said Jonny. Kirsten just rolled her eyes. She understood him. Not many people did, but Kirsten certainly did. She was something else, a lesbian. This shite after was written 3 years later to round this actual Spectrum Fest. So Jonny was standing there with a big chub and a lesbian for a companion before he had to enter the cesspit that was the Catty to save Modern Warfare 3 for his grubby bastardy niece who was pushing it. But first he had to get past their BOUCNERS. Who goes there? Said the cave troll of a goth bouncer. It is I, Jonny of the House Coil, gypsy fighting champ, first of his name and destroyer of wee boy asses, announced Jonny, but that was when the bouncer became a 300-foot crossed-ass gin from the Pelothic era and said, I need about 350. Jonny knew how to deal with this demon. He said, I ain't got no 350, you damn Loch Ness monster, and thus Jonny was given access to the catty. Chapter 6. The tunes were bouncing. Wait, tunes in the catty don't bounce, they go R-T-T-T. So the tunes were roaring and Jonny was there like Blade in Blade 1 at the vampire rave, but with metal instead. Vampires, demons, pedophiles and Jamie Samhain were jumping everywhere, and that's when Jonny whipped out his samurai sword M60 combo and took out them all out, getting 50 kill stake. But the fight wasn't over. Jonny sang Decimai Senpai. He heard from behind him, and that's when he turned to see Caitlin, the 50-foot mecha niece, floating that copy of MW3 in hand. Caitlin, we meet at last, Jonny mumbled as Caitlin began to power up. But Jonnu, son, we have known each other for years. How is that possible? Asked Jonny. Because I'm your niece. No. Shouted Jonny as he charged Caitlin, firing blindly with his M72 law knob tube, taking out 50 refugee ships in the process and causing a massive explosion that was also in his pants. The dust cloud was huge, and for a moment Jonny couldn't see anything. Surely he had destroyed the evil Caitlin. Jonny, you did it, said Kirsten, but that's when Jonny looked up from beneath the brim of his fedora. Not yet, he said as the dust cloud cleared and Caitlin emerged from it like the Terminator 1000 in Terminator 2, you know, the liquid metal cunt. You cannot defeat me, she said in a strange otherworldly voice, but that's when Jonny smirked. You forgot one thing, he said. Oh, and what's that? Caitlin asked. I'm the Donga, said Jonny before he threw his samurai sword into Caitlin's 5 dome, and she just stood there for a moment as it stuck out her heat. I only wanted to make the world a better place, she said as Jonny turned his back. Not in my world, he said before Caitlin fell back and exploded Mighty Morphin Power Rangers style. The battle was over. The deed was done. The beast was slain. The Jasmines was won. At that moment Jonny reveled in his victory. He knew he had done good. Real good, but he had learned something. Something about life that meant he wouldn't have to stare up at stars anymore and say real gay shit to his pals. He had learned that in seeking out an adventure he had become 10th prestige in life, not just in content. That's when his dar appeared out a plume of weed smoke. Jonny, my son, he said as he stood there holding a jasmine in his bare horns, curry sauce and rice dribbling down his fingers. You have made me proud for once. And that's when Jonny turned to his dar. No dar, I did it for America, he said with a tear in his eye. I did it for Trump. Finn.